Today we are going to react to a video by Filipina P. She's actually titled this video, "What is the best Filipina dating app?" But she doesn't even mention any dating app names. But I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to critique some of the comments she's mentioning. So let's dive in.
By dating sites. But like I promised you guys years ago, I've always declined because I never want my advice to be biased in any way. That's one reason you'll never see any sponsorship arrangements on my channel. I know a lot of channels have them, and I'm not knocking the content creators that want to make some extra bucks, but it's just not a good fit for me. If every time you clicked on one of my videos and you were subjected to 2 minutes of me plugging some dating site, I think you'd feel a little cheated and I'd feel like a sellout, which I'm not. Besides,
Yeah, that's very nice, Filipina P. But you should mention what dating sites are the good ones, and also mention which ones are paid, which ones are unpaid. I can mention one website that I've used for years until recently when they booted me off for unknown reasons. They just sent me a message saying I've violated some community guideline, but the website is really good. I've used it for many years and it's totally free. It's called dateinasia.com, and you don't there's no upsells, there's no need for doing anything special to send messages to anybody on their website. However, they do have an AI or algorithm that checks if you are spamming or if you're using copy and paste messages to a bunch of members on the website. So don't copy like a pre-designed letter or paragraph that you're posting to everybody on the website. That won't work. Of course, you can change a few words here and there, but the algorithm is pretty smart. It figures out that you are posting repeatedly a message over and over. So that's the only downside. You cannot copy and paste a message to all the members on the website like a mass mailing. But Dating Asia is really good. I highly recommend it. And it, like any dating site, it comes with all the problems and all the benefits. But we'll hear what Filipina P has to say, and I'll comment on those as she goes.
you can imagine if I was being paid by a dating site and I did a video about online relationships. I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate it when I tell you about all the red flags and advise you to come to the Philippines in person, which is and has always been my advice. But as I said at the start, there's a lot of you guys that can't just hop over here for a few weeks to check it out. So I don't blame you for wanting to get the ball rolling. So your first question is, where do I start looking? There's a million dating sites. So what's the best one? Well, in my opinion, there's not one. Overall, they're pretty much the same. I spent time researching them and looking.
No, actually, they're not all the same. There are a bunch of paid websites that charge you an arm and a leg, and that's not needed compared to a website that does not require payment to use their services. So they're not all the same, and there are different qualities of websites. A very common app, which I don't recommend, is called Tinder.com. It's like a hookup website, really, or app. Works on your phone the best. And there's a whole bunch of prostitutes and ladyboys and transvestites, and not very many real girls, at least not in the Philippines. It may be different in the Western world, but Tinder in the Philippines is just full of prostitutes and streetwalkers and freelance girls that want to hook up. And if that's your thing, yeah, you should try out Tinder. But if you're looking for a serious relationship or long-term relationship, you can scratch Tinder off your list. It's not very good. But Date in Asia, like I mentioned, I've used that for years. It's very good. It has a small amount of freelancers or scammers, but most of the profiles on there are legitimate. And you can use Google search or Google image search, which Filipina P will mention in a minute, to check the profile if it's legitimate or not. Google image search is very good. It will tell you whether the image is stolen from another website or if it's stolen from an actress or a famous person. So you can always use that to check a little bit about the profile. And you can also do not image search, but like a regular Facebook search if you know their full name. But that's another topic. We might touch upon that later, so hang in there. Let's hear what she has to say.
Looking at what was necessary for a Filipina to activate a profile. I knew this stuff already, but I just wanted to make sure that nothing had changed recently. And here's what I found. Although a membership can cost the man up to $80 a month, not one of the sites cost a single peso for a Filipina to join. And not a single site required any kind of verification of my identity.
Yeah, it's no gender equality here. The ladies get in for free, and guys have to pay on average of $30 a month for a subscription. In the U.S., this will be, I think, illegal. If you were selling a service where girls were free and guys had to pay. But in the Philippines, I guess I'm not a lawyer, but it looks like it's still free for Filipinas and fully paid subscriptions for guys.
Now, there were sites that had options where I could verify who I was by submitting my government ID and other documentation, but it wasn't a requirement for membership. So this means that within an hour, I could have active profiles on a bunch of different sites.
Yeah, the profiles of these ladies could be fake, and you could easily check that by having a copy of their ID. But the best way to do that is when they come to see you or meet you in your apartment or in a coffee shop. You can always ask them. Oh, they do require to present an ID. At most upscale Western style accommodations in Makati, they will have to present a passport or an official government ID to the lobby of where you live. So that's for your own protection, and they also want to verify that the girl is of age. You don't want any under 18 girls entering your building or entering your apartment. Even though I'm not a lawyer, but I believe the Filipino law says something about the age of consent is 16, but that really doesn't apply because guys come from the U.S. They actually follow the worldwide law about underage or age of consent, which is 18. So yeah, you want to be careful. At some point you want to check the ID of the girl if you're going to interact with her in any way. You want to make sure she's over 18 or over, I mean.
And although you guys have to pay an arm and a leg to join different platforms, a Filipina can pop out a dozen profiles for free. And that's exactly what a lot of women do. That's why I say that in my opinion, the sites are pretty much the same because you're looking at the same women. She might be called Cool Breeze on one site and Passion Flame on another, but it...
Yeah, I've never seen that in my experience. I've been dating online for years in the Philippines, but I've never ever seen the same girl on two different websites. I don't believe what Filipina P is saying is true.
It's still Maria from Manila sitting in her apartment and trying to manage her portfolio of accounts. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong or shady about that. She's just taking advantage of an opportunity for maximizing her chances. And we Filipinos are great at making use of free stuff. But obviously,
maybe she's talking about herself. I've never seen any Filipina on more than one website at a time. Yeah, I don't agree with what she's saying there, but we'll take it for what it is.
Obviously, it means that you're talking to a lot of the same women. So, what makes one site better than another? There's some minor things like more comprehensive search features and other little bonuses, and the option to verify the name of the woman you're talking to. But unless you've got money to burn, I just go with a free site if it was me. So now that I burst your bubble regarding any particular super site, let me give you the good news. There are things you can do to avoid wasting your time and maximize your chances of finding a perfect match, maybe even a few perfect matches. So after you've chosen the site you want, the first thing you need to do is make a profile that's gonna get you attention while screening out the bad guys who just wanna see what they can get from you. And to do that, you need to understand what a Filipina is looking for, both the good women and the bad. Now, I'm not gonna waste your time by telling you exactly how to construct your profile, but I will mention a few things that can save you some headaches. Filipinos like to read things that are short and funny. So if you think of something that might make a person laugh, put it in there. And don't use a lot of big words to try to impress us.
Yeah, that I agree with. Filipinos are using English as a second language, so don't try to impress with some fancy language or long introductions or long verbiage. Just keep it simple, and something funny is always better than something serious.
It's not that we're dumb, it's just that English is not our first language. So including a philosophical diatribe is only going to give us a nosebleed, and we won't make it through the first chapter. Think quality, not quantity. You don't need to fill in every possible space. Just keep it short, sweet, and intriguing.
Yeah, in fact, when you're making your profile, you should download or you should install one of the latest AI bots on your computer. Us guys from the Western world, we may already be using something called Chat GPT, and you can pretty much just put in a description about yourself, a paragraph or so, and ask the AI to generate a several, actually, if you want. You can ask the AI to generate several dating profiles, and you can ask it to emphasize the tone of joking or laughter or humor. You can ask the AI to emphasize seriousness about looking for a long-term relationship. You can ask the AI for anything like a tone or like a theme that you want to emphasize through your profile. And generally, there is a limited amount of space on these dating profiles. I think they all have different limitations, but you can also specify the AI to generate a dating profile, for example, up to 250 characters. You can actually be very specific, and you can maximize the space that's available once you know it for your dating profile. And the way you could know how much space or how many characters are allowed in the window on your browser or your laptop computer is you start typing just any kind of random text, and when you hit the limit, say it's 250 characters, usually there'll be an error that'll pop up and it'll say, oh, you've exceeded the maximum limit of 250 characters or whatever it is. So you can use that number to give it to the AI to generate a dating profile for you. So I recommend using that. The dating profile is very good, and you can even specify the dating profile to be generated for a 14-year-old or 12-year-old or high school level kind of English, and it will actually do it. It's quite impressive. You could even say don't use big words, just use simple words and make it humorous. The AI is very smart, so it'll come up with several choices of a dating profile. But of course, you have to input some things about yourself, your age, your gender, your interests. Just some basic information, biological data about yourself before you give it to the AI. But you'll be impressed.
But however you do it, composing a profile to attract a good Filipina is easy. It's keeping out the bad ones that's a little more difficult. And here's where I'm going to suggest a few things that are going to sound a little extreme, but can ultimately save you time, money, and a broken heart. Many sites have a little highlight box where you can put a couple of words that people see first when they look at your profile. Instead of putting something cutesy up there, put, "Don't ask me for money and we'll get along just fine."
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I mean, philosophically speaking, yeah, I do agree with it. But in practice, you don't want to put anything negative in your profile. If for example, you as a guy, you scrolling through a bunch of pretty pictures and profiles for Filipinas, and all of a sudden you see a profile that says, "Oh, I don't want like guy who's a smoker. I don't like a guy who's a drinker. I don't like guy who's this. I don't like a guy who's that." You kind of you're left sort of after a few seconds of reading that, you're kind of left with a sort of you wonder what kind of girl this is. You're not left with a positive, upbeat kind of feeling. You're left with the feeling that this girl is a picky, hard to get along with kind of person. So yeah, I don't agree with Filipina P here, where she's suggesting you put in your title or the headline of your profile that if you don't ask for money, we'll get along well, whatever she says. I don't agree with that. I think you should mention that when you're in discussion, or if she in the future brings up the topic of money. But I don't think you should put it in your profile, frankly.
Followed by a big smiley face. Now, almost every Filipino knows that some women are on that site to see what they can get out of you. So if your words offend them somehow, is that really the kind of woman you want to talk to in the first place? Most Filipinos know exactly where you're coming from and don't mind a bit. A scammer, on the other hand, will see right away that this ain't your first rodeo and will probably not waste much time on you. But one thing you'll soon find out is that scammers don't often read the stuff on your profile. Good women, the kind you want, do read what you wrote because we're honestly looking for a mate, not a paycheck. But the scammers are all about using the shotgun approach. Send out the exact same message to as many new guys as they can and see who bites.
Yeah, I have never experienced that myself, but maybe I've been lucky. Maybe my profile doesn't look like a potential scammer target. But what I do not like is not so much dating websites, but sometimes I get strange messages on my phone, my local Filipina phone number. And they'll say, "Oh, is this John? I'm not sure if this is the right number, blah, blah, blah." And it's usually, from what I could tell, like a Chinese sweatshop where they have a bunch of people messaging foreigners or messaging people in the Philippines, trying to start a dialogue, trying to start a conversation, and they are actually professional crypto investment scammers. They try to send pretty profile pictures of a sweet professional looking girl working in Singapore or Hong Kong or some other Chinese based location, and all they want is you eventually, after a couple of months of talking, to send money or to try cryptocurrency trading to a company that you've never heard of in another country. And once you do that, you'll never see your money again, because it's not because cryptocurrencies are bad, but it's because they are scammers, and they just don't return your money if you try to open an account, trading account, and just stay way away from Chinese scammers that try to pretend that they got the wrong number and are just messaging you by mistake. But that, like I said, that's not dating websites. It's just having a regular phone and a regular phone number. But that's a different story.
Their messages are usually very generic and often use the word dear, like, "I really like your profile, dear. Let's chat," when in reality, they haven't read a word of it. But there's a way to defeat this method too. At the end of your short and funny profile, put the words, "My favorite color is blue," so I'm only going to reply to messages that have the word blue in the subject. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, that's being too defensive. I mean, what she says is true, but you're gonna lose a lot of potential good women to specifically read to incorporate the color, the word blue in the first message. She's right that Filipinos don't usually read your entire profile, probably because they're busy and they may not even understand all the English. So I don't recommend doing what she's suggesting.
And then just delete any messages that don't have blue in the title. Could you inadvertently be tossing a message from a woman that just can't understand a basic request? Yeah, but wouldn't you rather chat with the ones that understood it? Now, some of you guys might say, "All this sounds really unfriendly, and that's really gonna cut down on my options."
Yeah, Filipina P is very intelligent, and she's a little bit over defensive here. Like I said, I don't agree with what she's saying here, but that is an option if you want to be that extreme. But I recommend don't be so defensive. Just get her on a video call before anything much else, and verify you're dealing with the right person. Sometimes the pretty girl is actually a guy, and you won't know that until you get them on a video call and see them in a live interaction on a video call. It's not going to cost you a dinner, not going to cost you coffee. You just have to convince them to make a video call interaction with you, and you can learn a lot about their life, a lot about the background. You can see where they're living. Are they in poor slum conditions? Are they living in an upscale apartment? Are there kids running around noisy in the background? Is there a bunch of older folks, parents perhaps, walking through in the background? Is she eating poorly? Is she eating healthy? Does she wear an expensive watch? You can learn a lot just by making and seeing through a video call who the girl is. So don't even spend many minutes chatting. Just go directly to a video call.
I want to make it easy to talk to as many women as possible. But what you have to realize is that you're not in Kansas anymore. When you're dealing with Filipinas, you're in the upside-down bizarro world where you hold most of the cards. Back home, on a Western dating site, the average-looking guy only gets 1 like for every 150 women on the site. But here, those numbers flip in your favor. You're the hot commodity, so you can be just as picky as the women on Western dating sites are.
Yeah, I'm not sure where she gets the numbers from, but it is better here. It's more action, there's more responses to messages on the Filipino dating websites than in the Western world. That's true, but not sure about the specific numbers she mentioned.
You don't want to talk to every woman on the site, just the good ones. It may seem impossible to believe, but you're about to find out what it feels like to be the hot blonde with the smoking body with 2 million Instagram followers that everyone desires. Mind-blowing, I know, but it's true. You can afford to be choosy, and you should be.
Not sure if she's describing the truth there, but you do get a lot more responses in the Philippines. I agree with that.
Well, now that we've got that out of the way, and you're ready to start chatting with some quality women, let me give you a few strategies for identifying the red flags of the scammer. No matter what you do, you're gonna run into him. So here's some things to watch out for. Be highly suspicious of anyone that contacts you first, especially during your first few days. The scammers know that they need to find you fast before you learn the ropes, so they like to target new members. There's even a search function for that, and what they'll do is go right down the list, sending the same message to anyone that just joined.
Yeah, that's probably true, but most of the time you will be signing up for a dating website that's free, and you'll just keep the account going for years until you find your future wife. So you will most likely not get that spam or a wave of messages from being a new subscriber after very long. And but I remember back in the day when I signed up for a new dating website, and I would get those wave of spammy messages, and you can tell that it's coming from a pre-written spammy kind of Word document by the title of the message. You know, honey. Yeah, for example, like, do you want tea or me? You know, it's like very very spammy, very cliche kind of titles on the messages, and you could tell immediately that it's just pre-worded or pre-designed scamming type messages. So you know, she mentioned this as something to be aware of, but you usually won't have this issue because your dating profile will be quickly aged after a month or two anyway.
Kind of like a mass mailer. That's why when you first sign up, you'll be barraged by messages, often 100 to 200 in a day. I'm not joking. Now, I'm not saying those are all scammers, because some legitimate Filipinos use the same tactic of trying to open a dialogue with you before you've been snatched up by someone else. But a higher percentage of scammers will be included in that first wave of attacks. So be careful. When you're looking at a woman's profile, see if it's filled out all the way. For some dumb reason, scammers often don't take the time to create a believable backstory, and they end up leaving a lot of stuff blank. For
Yeah, actually, it works both ways. I've seen profiles of scammers that are very empty, and I've seen profiles that are very carefully filled out, probably to try to make you believe they're not scammers. So it goes both ways. Like I said before, the best way is to get them on a video call and fill them out, just have a normal human dialogue.
For professional scam artists, you'd think they'd know better, but they don't. So use that to your advantage. And here's something that's a big red flag. Look at the ages of the guy she's interested in meeting. Almost all scammers put 18 to 99, so they'll show up in a maximum number of search results. Again, that doesn't mean they're up to no good, but it's a sign that a woman's just looking for any man, not the man.
Yeah, that's very true what she's saying there.
Beware of too many sexy photos or a lot of pictures taken at high-end resorts. Those photos look good and they get attention, but your average Filipina can't afford those places. So the question you need to ask is, who was she there with? Who took the picture?
Yeah, that's exactly true. If you see some fancy high-end hotel room pictures or any kind of hotel room pictures in their dating profile, you got to be asking who were they there with. Most Filipinos are very poor, and they can't even, or they don't want to buy a temporary hotel room for even a day in the city where they're living. Yeah, it's a red flag if you see any kind of hotel room or any kind of bed in their pictures in their profile. That's not a good sign.
Profiles with a lot of these photos are often from girls who are more vacation companions than women looking for serious relationships. This type of Filipina likes to trade her time for being jetted around the Philippines and being wined and dined. She's not necessarily a scammer, but she's probably not wife material either.
Yeah, that's the key word, not wife material. But of course, some guys they are looking for a vacation girl only. So you know, if that's your thing, you should you should try to message this type of dating profile.
And if a picture just looks too professional or the woman just looks too good to be true, use Google to do a reverse image search.
Yeah, that's become a problem nowadays with so many dating apps and so many filters. They can make themselves look pretty with makeup and hair and a nice dress, but now they got these digital filters, and AI is probably massaging the bones in their face structure, etc. So somebody that looked average all of a sudden looks like a supermodel, and it's called a filter. It's not called Photoshop. I think the dating apps, they call it a filter, and it's just a click of a button. You can change your whole bone structure. You even apply some light makeup around your eyes or whatever. So it really makes the girl look 10 times better than she really is. But like I said before, the bottom line is get them on a live video call.
Many times you'll see that the image was pulled from a website, and the woman is actually a model or a famous actress that the scammer knows you won't be familiar with.
Yeah, and if the picture looks too good, it looks like a fashion model or a movie star actress, it'll be obvious to you. I mean, you were not born yesterday, so and like she says, if you're in doubt, to go to Google image search and just upload the photo and let Google image tell you whether it's a famous actress or something. It's very easy to do.
And finally, let me close with the same advice I've been given for almost 3 years now. Everybody say it with me. Don't send money. Now, I'm not even gonna call this scamming because there's often no deception involved. She asks for it and you give it. But what you need to understand is that it can be extremely profitable for a woman to go online and end up having a guy to send her $20 for load, for food, or whatever, in exchange for a couple of hours of chatting. When you compare that to 2 or 3 days of backbreaking work to make the same amount, it becomes clear why so many women do it. Maybe she's even interested in you. Who knows? But when you do that, you create a feeding frenzy. And if
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a feeding frenzy, but it's setting the groundwork for a relationship that's based on money rather than true love. So just, I mean, there's nothing. I have nothing against helping people and sending small amounts of money, under 1,000 pesos or whatever, for some emergency, for some load or for some food. But if it's on a regular basis and they start to get used to the money coming from the foreigner to the poor Filipina, that's setting the wrong tone or the wrong basis in a relationship. So don't do it. Just avoid it. I mean, it's so easy. They were surviving for probably 20 plus years by themselves without a rich quote unquote foreigner helping them out, so they can survive another few months or another whatever before you go to the Philippines. Don't fall for the request to send money. I mean, it's nice to help. I agree. We all want to help people in need, and we all got a soft heart. At least myself, I have a very soft heart, and it's very tempting to send a small amount of money to help a poor Filipina, but don't do it. It sets the wrong tone for the relationship.
even more women start asking you guys for stuff. It's kind of like when women go on 3 dates a week just to get free food and entertainment, even if they don't really expect the relationship to go anywhere. And you don't want to be a part of that same thing here, do you? So your best strategy is to broaden.
Yeah, I've never had any experience with women going on a feeding frenzy for 3 dates a week just to get food in their belly. I've never had that, but I have had dates with a woman directly tells me she's a single mother and she needs money for buying milk for her child. I've had that on many occasions, and I usually say no because that's not a good start of a relationship. And not to mention the topic of single mothers. That's a whole nother issues. But dating a single mother is another level of challenge, and I'm not sure we're going to talk about that. We have time to talk about that today, but just set the tone correctly when you start talking, and don't fall into the trap of being overly nice and supportive and helping her.
Podcast loud and clear and often. No money, honey, until we're married. And then you can decide when that will be.
No money, honey, until we're married. Yeah, I think that's a little too tough. I think I'm not sure what the correct phrase would be, but it's for me it has been more like no money until we meet face to face. That's probably a better phrase. Not saying what she said is wrong, but I just think it's a little too tough.